Bam, and we are live, baby, just like that. Make sure the microphone's on. We got the scarf in today. We're looking swaggy. I'm feeling great because all the indoor track meet seasons are finally over, and I can get a little break on the weekends to dive a little deeper into some tickers. So I'm glad you guys are with me. We're doing a little bit of ticker talking tonight. We got the whole crew. They'll be joining as
today.
we
We're looking swaggy.
roll, as we keep on rolling on. Well, I have your attention. Do me a quick favor. Hit that like, hit that subscribe button if you're watching this at a later time. We are swing traders. We are momentum swing traders. We're looking for trend-based breakouts in the leaders and the hot sectors and the hot themes. It's that simple, folks. And as long as you can stay disciplined, you can make money in these markets. All right. Today's going to be a little bit more chill, a little bit more laid back. We got B. Stewie, the moderator, in today. And of course, for the poll, we have 4 votes already. 50% think the market will continue higher. And before we start going over a lot of the tickers, I just want you guys to understand where we're at in the S&P 500. If you haven't realized it already, we are at a basing top here. This is exactly the kind of things I look for after a big amount of volume that comes in for tightening range and new higher lows. And the S&P 500 is showing the low, the new higher low right here, and the new higher low right here on the 50-day moving average. So there's your 3 new higher lows at a basing top. You can see right where that red line is. You have a 1, 2, 3, now 4 times it's touched the same area, forming a base around that 609 area. It's a beautiful sign. Tightening range and an ascending trend line. It shows that we have proper risk reward here in the overall market. What's up, Jimmy Bright? It's good to see you, brother. So overall, when we look at the S&P 500, this is what we want to see. This is exactly what we want to see. It's very constructive. It looks very, I mean, look at this. It's absolutely beautiful. Now, can we head down? Absolutely. Nobody really knows. But if I'm looking at something that's in a bullish scenario, when we're looking at tickers and we're talking about speculative tickers, we want to know that the majority of the market's contenders are going to be heading to the north side. And in this situation, you can see we are strong. We've had deep view thrown at it. We have had bad market data. We've had CPI data try to take this thing down. We have had so much try to take this market down, and we have continued to head higher. So it's an absolute beautiful thing. And I just want to preface that simply because, well, we're getting more people to pile in. But you want to know where the S&P 500 is before you ever start doing a deeper dive into a talk, right? If you're looking at a ticker and you like a ticker, then the first thing I want to ask myself is going to be, one, is that in a hot sector or a hot theme? Is it creating new higher lows? And is the overall market working properly in towards the same favorable odds while it heads higher, creating these new higher lows? And right now we are in those favorable odds. And you can, my cat's going crazy over here in the cat stuff. Sorry if you guys can hear that. Hang on one second. Check. All right. Here we go. What's up, Zamora? It's good to see you. All right, so let's start looking at some tickers. Now we know where we're at on the S&P 500. You can see this basing area right here, and we're expecting this to break out. So when we see things like that, we want to see what has not already broken out, because we've been following all these leaders. All of these leaders, it's been absolute blast following Meta. It's been an absolute blast following CYBR. But these are all of our leaders that we identified 3, 4, even some of these 5 weeks ago that are already blasting off to the north side. And if you have not caught a piece of these basing breakouts or these simple base breakouts, as Pat Walker talks about them, then that's okay. We are still in a bull trend. We're still in a market that looks very strong, and we're still looking for tickers that we can play that are just like Meta or more speculative, that can move even faster than stocks like this. So we have had plenty of you in our Discord. We have a Discord. It's absolutely free. Just click on the link tree in the comment section. B. Stewie posted that for us. And you can join our Discord. I just expect everyone to have an open mind and a warm heart. I don't know if I say that right. An open heart, an open mind, and a heart of gold. You don't want to say open heart, right? Because that might lead to something far worse. But on this, you can see we've had so many people just posting. We chat back and forth about all the different leaders that we have. And, you know, you'll see one right here from B. Stewie, TSSI. We can jump right into this one. Much more speculative stock because it moves 12.94%. This has been actually on our leaderboards for quite some time now. And we can just start with that one if you want to. Now, I do want you guys to know and understand that none of this is financial advice. We break down these tickers. What we're trying to do is formulate a plan around something like this, but these are my ideas. These are not yours. You can make them your own, but then own your own trade, okay? So we have been following this. I've found this to be the basing area. But we want to ask ourselves, what is this? Well, it's in the technology services and information technology. You can find that down here. And if you keep scrolling down here, you can see if we look at the quarterly, it's making money. Annually, it's making money. And you can see it right here on our little stats. And if you scroll down here, we'll just take a look at what it does. They engage in the provisions of comprehensive services for the planning, design, development, and maintenance of mission-critical facilities and information infrastructure, as well as integrated services. It operates through the Facilities and System Integration Services business segment. So they have a few different segments in there, but they're in the information and the technology space, technology services, which would be under QQQ. And you can see the Qs are doing just fine. So if you were looking at something like TSSI, you're clearly in the right sector. Technology's been hot for a while, and you can see that this has been on a constant uptrend. And what does it test most? You can see here the 21-day moving average. It seems to test the most. Now, personally, when I see something like this, where you're starting to see gaps and some straight up action, to me, that's a blow off top. But you can see it held new higher lows here once again, okay? Here's a higher low, higher low, higher low. That's 3 higher lows with a new basing top here. So when I'm going to set my alert for something like this, okay, if I were to set my alert right here at 1581, I want everybody to know and understand I'm not acting upon that alert, okay? So I'm at work, walking around, fixing things, being an absolute monster at fixing things. Only kidding. But, and I get an alert on my phone, and I go, oh, shoot, what the hell's going on here? Oh, okay, it looks like TSSI is reaching that $1565 area, or that $16 psychological area. What am I going to do with this? Well, okay, let's take a look at the volume. The volume looks like it's higher than average than the previous days. Okay, this looks good, but, you know, it's just pushed up into this area. Let's just set one more alert. And so what I will do a lot of the times is if I got the alert, a lot of the times you'll see like a push up about a volume into this area. So my alert would go off, and then I would set an alert just above that. And I would set an alert just below that. So if it went above my alert area, above 16, I would set an alert below that and above that. So that way I completely understand where that stock is at. So I can go back to work. I don't have to worry about it, okay? Another thing that I like to do is after it breaks through my alert, I will set the alert back down at this area. So that way if it breaks through this alert, I can watch the stock, and if it comes back through and it touches that same area, I can play the retest, okay? So I want everybody to know and understand when I'm setting alerts, it doesn't mean I'm buying the stock. I'm actually literally following the price action through stock alerts, because in my broker using Thinkorswim, I get free alerts. I can have thousands of alerts. So I can set price action everywhere on the stock chart. And I mean it by price action because if it hits a certain level, I know it's at a level of interest or a pivot or a key area. So we'll touch more and more on alerts because I think alerts are very important to follow the stock market, especially if you're at work. You can come back to your phone and you can say, APP just hit that same low for the third time and it's being supported at 250. This is where I wanted to add. Do you have the cojones to add, or is this not really your thing? Do you not really want to play this stock? And that is when you start to really hone in on your process. What is going on, Yosef? It's good to see you in the building. And Yosef, we are probably going to go over a few of your stocks too as well today, because you've been posting some awesome charting as well in the Discord. What is going on, JP? It's good to see you, brother. I hope you're getting through that book nice and well. And yeah, let's just jump right into this, guys. So I have plenty that I want to talk about. One thing that I just want to kind of go over is APP. I was talking about APP with Daniel just before this, Bob Dan. You can see here we had this basing structure, and I don't want you guys to see any of this just for right now. We're only going to focus on this basing structure, okay? And you can see the earnings quarterly and the earnings sales. They're all right here. And guys, if you want to get this charting, you can click on my my Trading View link. It's in the description, and you can get a beautiful charting program just like this. And I can also help you get everything set up as well in that charting. So here's APP, and the reason why we played this basing breakout is because of the quarterly earnings, because of the EPS earnings. This is what we look at. It's also in the technology and packaged software services, which we knew was going to be absolutely amazing. Why? Because AI. AI is going to be integrated into everything. It's going to be into technology. It's going to be into robots, your apps, your cell phones, any kind of, it's going to be in everything, absolutely everything. And with APP being part of that technology services and packaged software, they have a great deal to do this. Well, you can see they formed a beautiful base here, and I entered this base right here at this 346.75 area as it crept higher. So I was able to hold on to this because it was above 10%. Held through earnings, and now we're way up here. One thing I want to say with this is why we like to take profits before earnings. Because as this thing slowly creeps higher and holds this 21-day moving average, I took half somewhere out at 3-4R, somewhere around there, but before earnings nonetheless. So now that we have gapped up all the way up here, to me, this is all free money. I was willing to accept a break even on this trade, and I can let this go now. Okay, I can let this go, and if it wants to set up again, I can add back in, or I can just bring my stop up. Okay, so that's just one thing that I was talking with Daniel about this earlier, about letting more moving averages now hold. So see how this 50-day moving average caught up the last time? I can use now this 50-day moving average as my stop because it's above my break-even area. That's a big thing on a last half. It's like, how much money can we really make off of the last half of a trade? So we're letting those winners run, okay? And guys, if you want to hear about a ticker or anything like that, just throw it in the chat. I'm going to be going over my tickers, what I have, what I want to see, what I like in the overall market. But of course, if you want to throw something in there, we'll intervene, because this is ticker talk, baby. We can talk about whatever you want to talk about. One thing I always got to point out is Root. Oh my gosh. So Root obviously hurts me. If you guys have been following me, you know why. I've been watching Root for years now, okay? And when I seen this initial run up all the way back here from its earnings debut, and this thing just kept ripping higher, you could see why, because it was in their EPS and their sales. It's definitely something that you wanted to be a part of. What's up, Robert? Roberto Tainch, it's good to see you in the building. Yes, Jimmy, dude, the alerts are so important for workers. It's 100%. You can't, going back to work after 2 years of just kind of sitting around and trading and focusing on YouTube, going back to work was a huge eye-opener about how important those alerts really are. And speaking of that, I set my alert right here for Root, okay? My alert went off right here for Root, but I wanted to see how it respected this trend line. So it pops back up and it pulls back underneath, but it holds a new higher low from this area here. So I set another alert above this area, and it hit again, but it never took off. So I set another alert for this area. That was 3 alerts before it actually took off. Now this alert, mind you, I did not pay it as much heed, and I don't know exactly what was going on that day. That's why it's really nice to keep a journal, because I'm kicking myself in the butt for this trade, because I've talked about it numerous times about this $85 area being a 1 yearly base. You can see all the way back in 2024 of April, and here at this base, we're in January of 2025, so close to it. So close to a year basing here and finally getting tight and breaking out with an RS rating of 99. It's still looking really good. And then the cup with no handle continued to head higher. That's so beautiful. That's exactly what you want to see, especially when you're calling these leaders out and you're saying, look, they have proper EPS, they have proper sales. I like Root. Now, this is in finance as well. They're insurance brokers. So that obviously is going to help, because what is XLF doing? You know, the financial sector, it's on an enormous run here. It's doing absolutely phenomenal. And as B. Stewie pointed out to me, XLC is absolutely phenomenal too. Communication services is just a monster, along with XLF, which is financial services. So when we look at things like Root, you know, in hindsight, it's like, well, yeah, of course they're doing amazing. But my issue with Root is I was not able to take this trade, and I preached and preached and preached this trade. And, you know, a simple trade like this, if you got in here and you risked the previous low, even if you were risking this low, which I like to use same day, especially when you get these big pushes through, we could use same day at 5%, but let's just give ourselves some room with 10.19% on a stock that moves, let me just look it up here. A stock that moves 8.4%, that's within the range. That's within my allowed range. We'll just say 10% to make it simple. It went as high as 59%. So right there, you know, in a 2 weeks time, you're getting 6R, you know, and you could have obviously got tighter risk here, much tighter risk here, or, you know, risked off of this. But that's too hindsight for me. I'm not going to play this until it breaks this yearly base, which would be right here. If I risked as close as to the low of day, that would be 5% risk. But my risk tolerance lately, because the market's been so choppy, I've been widening my risk, not really caring about how long it takes to get that R eventually, just being able to digest that risk to be able to work freely without having to think about the trade. So I would have risked more of this 9.3 or 10%. And I definitely would have taken half up at this all-time high, which would have been 3.5R. But regardless, this is a trade that I missed. But I even had 3 different alerts on this. And this is why. Because it's probably not going to break out on the first try. It's probably not going to break out on the second try. But, and I say but, if this is going to break out, it's going to continue to make these new higher lows and get to be tighter in a tighter range. It's a beautiful thing. It's a beautiful thing, guys. And one thing that I've been seeing getting into a very tightening range, which I want to make sure I have my alert on, is Rocket Lab. So Rocket Lab is kind of at that area of do or die. And I'll show you guys why I mean that. Because if we break down from this area, these are its new higher lows. And let me put this on the weekly so we can understand and digest this a little bit better and make sure I got your guys' chat up. There we go. We got the chat up. Volume on the retest? That's a great question. That's a really good question. I've never really thought about that, Dan Bob. Do you need to see volume on the retest? You want to see it being supported. Volume at the retest is always a positive thing. So it would be almost like, you know, for my insurance, just to say the proper thing, yeah, you would want to see volume, obviously. You want to see somebody defending that retest area. And if you see it, then it gives you more probability to get into that ticker. But I can't say that I would fully want to debate whether or not you need to see that volume coming in or not. So great question. So here's Rocket Lab. You can see that we're getting these inside days, 3 inside days here. So it's getting really, really tight. But I think this is more of a do or die here, because if it breaks this area of support, we could head all the way down to 2250, which is its next area of support. So that daily time frame to me is kind of a do or die here. Is it going to hold this 50-day moving average, or are we going to start breaking down here? So is Rocket Lab going to go to the moon, or is it going to fizzle out? As you can see, its last few quarters, their EPS has been slowing. So very interesting. You know, it's the Electronic Technology Aerospace and Defense Company. I have been keeping my close eyes on HWM. They're looking like they're getting ready to break this regression channel line. I find these guys are the aerospace leaders right now, making new all-time highs and, you know, beating their EPS. Sales actually had a double whammy, up over 3% surprise on their earnings. This is Howmet Aerospace, HWM. This ticker was led to me by B. Stewie, and it's definitely a leader. There's plenty of aerospace defense stocks out there, but we really want to find the best of the best. I think I got into RDW at its breakout. I did. And so I got in right here in this area for its breakout. I'm still holding on to this. I'm going to let it probably hang out around the 21-day moving average if it can't get above that, but this is just starter price. But I do think HWM is looking stronger than any other of the defensive stocks. Yosef says Peloton. So let's take a look at Peloton. So I got a funny story about Peloton. Now, you can think whatever you want about Peloton, but you know, if we just shrink this and just kind of show you kind of where Peloton has came from, you can see right off the get, Peloton is not a stock that is shy to seeing new lows. Okay, and just recently has it actually came up off of these lows and is kind of trading around that $9 area. So when we look at Peloton, and we look at it subjectively, the first thing that we're going to say is, well, it's made this bottom here and it's creating new higher lows, right? It's above its 200-day moving average and its RS rating is 98. RS is 98. And it looks like it has some EPS growth, but their sales growth has not been inclining, okay? So when it comes to their sales growth, minimum for me, I just feel more comfortable if I'm looking at stocks that are on their way up. They're making money, they're making new sales, they're increasing their sales. When it comes to Peloton, they're not. So that's my first issue. The second one is going to be just its history, its downtrend. There's going to be a lot of bag holders, but that's A-okay, because I don't want to just always look at the negative things. We're going to look at the positive things here. You have a new low, a new higher low, and a new higher low. So you got your three new higher lows above a 200-day moving average and above all moving averages. So this thing could catch a bid. It could head on higher, but I just think it's kind of a dying source. Like, you don't hear about Peloton very often. They could get bought out by somebody else, but they're just a fancy bike. You know, just like any type of weight machine or exercise machine or anything like that, it's going to get old. It's going to get old. I think it's out the door. I think, I have a bias-y towards this thing. I really wish I had it marked out on here, and I wish I was still short it. But I remember somewhere in here, I believe, they had rumors that they were going to get bought out by Nike and all this stuff, and I didn't believe any of it, and I ended up shorting them, but I got out way sooner than anticipated. We could have made a lot more money on that trade, but yeah, Peloton, it is doing. I see why you're looking at it. You look at something like this and you think, wow, we have so much more room to go higher. Like look where it came from. It could go all the way back up to its highs and break 200, and there's all this hopium as we call it, and I just don't see it actually happening. I don't see it happening. I think there's too much overhead resistance. Dan Bob says LQDA. Let's take a look. Let's zoom out a little bit here. Wow. Let me bring this up on my other one here, and we'll read about it. LQDA. All right, it's in the pharmaceuticals and health technology. If we zoom out, you can see right here, it's got this huge cup. If we look at it on a weekly, it's easier for me to look at these on the weekly because it's pretty wide. This thing moves 4%, so it meets the expectations of a faster mover. We have some EPS growth and some sales growth here. It doesn't look like it's really moving up off of that. It looks like they're kind of in debt here. So when it comes to specific tickers, when it comes to these health and technology stocks, there are some difficulties in finding healthier financial suitable stocks to actually play, while them being faster movers. So it's hard to find stocks in the health sector land that don't have all that. Now LQDA has made this cup positioning type base, and you can see here it's about 50%. So the cup is kind of too deep for the William O'Neill cup and handle, but it's still looking good. Back up here at these highs, and you can see this tightening range as it breaks out higher. You can see it had this basing breakout here and another basing breakout right here. So two areas you could have attempted to get in. That looks really nice, holding a 10-day moving average. Personally, if I look at this thing and, I don't know the sector that it's in, I don't know anything about the financials, the first thing I kind of think about this is, I need to see how it's going to act here at these most recent highs. That's what I would like to see. What's up, Michelle? Root also has a negative EPS PE. Wouldn't we want to trade profitable companies? That's a really good, that's a really, really good question. Absolutely. Yosef, I have SNCY still on my leaderboards list. On my leaderboards list here. So just to touch up on LQDA, I think there's better tickers out there, but if you're looking at something like this, the RS rating is good, and it's starting to tighten up here. I want to see what this is going to do at these highs, though. What is it going to do at these highs? So just to touch on what you have to say, Michelle Henson, no, I completely agree with you. I'm just skimming over the EPS and the sales growth, and you can see that we have gotten 25% quarterly over quarterly EPS and sales growth. And you can see their trajectory is slowly climbing higher. So you can see that they are in line with trying to become a more profitable company. They're not just burning money at this point. So that's what I'm looking at. I'm looking at for the EPS, and I'm looking at the sales growth. So yes, they do have sales growth, but I see what you mean by profitable companies. Yes, if they are profitable, that makes it all the more better. But obviously, in the end, we are speculating on whether the profit is going to come, no matter what stock you're in. We're trying to foresee the future. The market is trying to predict and price in 6, 8, 12 months ahead sometimes what they think the overall stock is going to produce. So in this case, yes, we want the company to be profitable, but as long as they're showing EPS and sales growth, then we are expecting it to eventually be profitable. So we're trying to price that in. Let's go to SNCY. So I had this here on my leaders list, SNCY. So this is in the airlines, and I know that, let's see, B. Stewie brought up an airlines company today. Maybe we can find that, or you can punch it into the chat if you don't mind. He had a thing right next to it. Let me know which one it was, B. Stewie. I know it's somewhere here in the chat. But yeah, I was watching SNCY. I do really like this. Let's bring up how fast this baby is. SNCY. And this thing moves 5%. So it's fast enough for us. I have an alert set right here, and it looks like, my best case scenario, this yellow line, I'll just delete it now, but it looks like that thing was pretty spot on, except for this double dribble right here. But we'll see what happens with this. Personally, what I want to see before the breakout is this right here. This day right here, like if we just erase all of that and just look at this day, this looked like it's getting ready to explode to the north side. It really does. That's nice, high, tight, new higher lows in a base right here at a 1750 psychological area. I would have expected this without earnings being right here, that this thing would take off. Earnings came, it had a double dribble, bounced off the 50 just like it has done previous here and previous down here. And you can see it's starting to form another tightening range. But I want to see it get tight like this here again. So best case scenario now is, well, best case scenario, it breaks out from here. But if we get another 2 days of tightening range before we get the beautiful rip tater chip to the north side, that is what we would want to see from SNCY for me personally. And you can see we got some EPS growth. We have some sales growth here. It's nothing too crazy, but let me just read about this. So this is Sun Country Airlines, SNCY. Sun Country Airlines. It engages in the provisions of scheduled passenger services, chart air transportations, and cargo businesses. Its geographical segments include domestic and Latin America segments. So I still think they have plenty of room to grow. Their headquarters in Minneapolis, Minnesota. They have different avenues that they could grow, but they're in with the airlines. We know airlines are doing better. I don't like this, constant downward trajectory. This is kind of an area where it's like, okay, you got your stage 1 in. Is this going to be your start of your stage 2? So it's looking nice here. It's looking nice. But when I zoom out, it's like, man, it looks, it just looks like garbage. But we'll see. We'll see what's going to happen with SNCY. I like that they're actually turning around here, and we might get it very, very soon, as the quarterly look good, and so do the annually at first glance. B. Stewie says ALK. AOK. So Alaskan Air Group. So this is another in the let's just look at jets really quick. So if we look at jets, this is the ETF for your airfare, and I just want to take a look at it just to see where we're at before we go back to ALK. So we're just above a 50-day moving average, and you can see ALK, Alaskan Air Group. It looks like they're showing profitability, sales growth, and EPS change growth. And if we scroll down here, it looks like they're slowly trailing off here. Their estimates look like quarterly they're going to be trimming some numbers there. But regardless, they are a holding company which engages in the provision of air transportation services, operates through the following segments: mainline, regional, and horizontal. Blah, blah, blah. It's basically transportation in U.S. and Canada. So, yeah, this is looking good too. 97, but you got to be careful right here in this area, because if we zoom out, we can let's put it on the weekly, make it even easier to see. Every time it's gotten into this area, this $75 to $80 area, it's kind of its danger zone here. And what do I mean by that? Like, well, danger zone, right? Well, you got to kind of understand, like, the last time it got into this area multiple times, it's led to lower movement. And you can see it's already started here. So I don't know what's going to happen with the stock, but if I see numerous things happening over and over and over again like this, then that's what I'm going to be taken aback a little bit by it. And I'm going to go, well, hang on here. Why every time we hit this $80 area are we getting sold off into? So after a pullback, I'd want to see a new higher low somewhere being met before even being interested into this stock. So I like ALK. I like where it's headed. I like this beautiful rip tater chip off this bottom. But if I'm looking for something that's sustainable, a leader in the market, that it's going to continue higher, I'd have to give ALK some time, but definitely one to keep an eye on for maybe some future growth. Since we were talking about healthcare stocks, and I know Dan Bob is really thinking healthcare is going to take off. I've been talking about healthcare for a while too. XLV is the healthcare sector that we keep an eye on. And you can see this purple area right here on my screen, this purple area right here. This was what I was considering the danger zone. And this danger zone, as we came down into it, I said was going to be its support area. We'd want to see it being supported. Now we're being supported in that area, and we're back up into this yellow line, which is now its area of resistance. We talked about this area of resistance. That's why I marked it out for you guys. And you can see it is serving up as resistance. It is resistance. 147.80, it pulled right on back. And now we're going to see if it wants to create a new higher low. So Dan thinks it's going to be the next healthcare. Healthcare is going to be, we're going to see rotation into it. And we very well could. And this is exactly what I'm waiting for to confirm this. because we got the bounce off this area. We went higher. Now we found resistance. Can we make a new higher low? As long as we can get this next daily or weekly closing above 136 before heading higher, I'm going to say yes, we have rotation into healthcare and that we are looking a lot better. That being said, CDNA is on my list. I don't like where it's came from. I don't like where a lot of these healthcare stocks have came from, but what I do like is the new higher lows on the weekly time frame or even on the daily time frame. And you can see this thing's getting tight and I'm in the breakout area. You can even consider this a trend and a basing area breakout if we just draw a simple line right here through this, okay? So there's multiple reasons to get in this stock. It's also tight risk. You can use this previous day at 23.90 as your risk, or the previous low at 21.47. That's a lot of room to move up there. It's also showing recently EPS and sales growth. So this is in the health technology, and it's definitely one that you'd want to keep on your watch list. Now, let me just see how fast CDNA moves here. It is a faster mover at 6.4%, guys. So this is a good one to definitely keep on your watch list, especially if you have a smaller account. This is trading right now at $24.50, and it moving that fast can really speed up the ability to increase your moolah, baby. You guys throw them up in the chat, and we will take a look at them for sure. ZETA, and then we'll come back to Dave. So when we look at ZETA, the first thing I see is, whoa, look at these EPS and sales growth. It's off the chain, looking really, really good. It's in the technology, service, and package software business. It looks like they have their earnings. They're forecasting much higher annually and quarterly. It looks like they're trying to dig themselves out of a hole. You can see a huge push up here, and goodness, look at this EPS. Like, what in the absolute heck happened here if they had a double surprise on their EPS? So when I see something like this, first thing, Zamora, I think, do I want to be a part of something that can do this to its investors? I mean, literally, off of its earnings, it went from a high to a low in a matter of 2 days of 56%. This stock moved. That's pretty nasty. But what I will say is that it formed a base, then it formed new higher lows. So if we just erase the history and say, hey, look, everything's got to pass. We don't want to get into it. You know what I mean? So right here, well, let's just look at this. If we have a low, we have these forming new higher lows here. So new higher low, and now we've broken above all the moving averages, including the 200-day moving average, and could slightly or very soon be on a new uptrend. You can look at this in a more positive light by doing this if you wanted to and say it's on a new uptrend, or that, you know, we got to see if it's actually the moving averages are going to line up. You got the 10 above the 21, the 21 above the 50, but the 50 is still below the 200-day moving average, so we'll see. I would say this is its first plan of attack, and if it can hold this push higher before breaking down, or if this is its volume blow off top before breaking down, I think it has a shot. So we'll see. But to me, I would consider this a broken stock. Just like there's a lot of stocks that are doing well right now that I still considered a broken stock. You know, NVIDIA being one of them. NVIDIA is doing really well here. Is it going to make new all-time highs? I hope for all the investors that it does. But for me, this gap down, this huge sell-off, to me, it's a broken stock now. So it's got a bad taste in my mouth. So when we look at Zeta, I see this, and it's just, I'm like, I don't really want to mess with this thing, you know? So those are my thoughts, though. You know, it definitely could be. So Dan Bob says CDNA is in a slight downtrend. Look at the 50-day moving average. Yeah, no, I agree with you. I'm using the, everybody needs to understand the moving averages are just a guide, okay? I go by price action and the new higher lows to help determine who has control over the market, right? So as long as we know, we all agree, the S&P 500 is in an uptrend, now we can at least imagine that when the market is in an uptrend, 90% of the stocks are going to have an easier time moving up higher, right? So then if we look at CDNA, there's multiple time frames that we can look at it from. Now, if we just look at it here, it's downtrending. If we look at it here, it's uptrending. If we look at it here, it's downtrending, right? So with that being said, there's multiple ways we can look at it in a time frame perspective view. For me, I am trying to capitalize on the next equilibrium change, which is where the new higher lows meet the new lower highs. So we have the new lower highs. We have a lower high here, a lower high here, here, and here. And then we have new higher lows here. We have a low here, higher low, higher low, higher low. More than 3 here on our new higher lows. And now we have an area with a tight range that we can risk from. So you could consider this in a slight downtrend. I agree. But I'm not looking at these moving averages so much as I am looking at the new higher lows, the new lower highs, the tightening range, and an area where I can calculate risk properly. So I can agree with you on that. You could consider this a downtrend from all the way from August. If you click on the weekly, I would say we're in a long-term downtrend. But what we're trying to capitalize on this movement from here to all-time highs, and then I'm taking half out, and then after that, it's all free money. It's either going to break me out for break stop even, or it's going to continue higher with the overall health sector, which is XLV. Now, again, I'm not saying CDNA is your only stock in the healthcare to look at, right? You have HIMSS, you have the stock that Dan Bob just pointed out, the LQDA. I also missed one by Jimmy and Dan about QB, so we'll go back. But you also have HIMSS. HIMSS is the leader in this sector. Here's the daily time frame. This thing is absolutely on another one. Not only did you have this beautiful trend break, but you also had sweet Jolene chirping in my ear telling me that why would I ever take HIMSS off my leaderboard list? And I'm really glad she called me out on that because it really makes me question when I should take a leader off the leaderboards list. It really does. When do I take it off? Because usually after it breaks a 50-day moving average, I kind of kibosh it. But in these scenarios, it's like, no, it's just a guide. Is it going to make a new higher low? Where is the new higher low? Is it still having high EPS and high sales growth? Then it needs to stay on the leaderboards list. So with that being said, you could also look at HIMSS as well as your leader. When you look at something like HIMSS and then CDNA, it's like, yeah, we want to wait is what we want to do. We want to wait for HIMSS to set up again because this is your leader. This thing is an absolute monster. So yes, Dan Bob, I agree. You could definitely say CDNA is in a slight downtrend. You could say long-term downtrend, short-term uptrend, and mid-term downtrend. You could look at those all in comparison in trying to understand its equilibrium. We also had QB by Dan Bob and then Jimmy Bright. We will go over your LTH. Actually, I don't have QB, Dan Bob. I'll check my other broker here. We'll see. Yeah, I'm not getting QB, so check your tickers there, Dan Bob. But when we come to LTH, as Jimmy Bright was asking, yeah, this thing has just been ripping. So let me look a little bit. Let's figure out what this is. So it's consumer services or other consumer services. So let's read what these guys do here. Lifetime Group Holdings Incorporated operates as a holding company through its subsidiary, operates professional fitness, family recreational, and spa centers as it primarily engages in design, building, and operative distinctive and large multi-use sports and athletic professional fitness, family recreational, and spa centers in resort-like environments. Principally in residential locations of major metropolitan areas in the United States and Canada. The company was founded by Brian Akredin in 1992 and headquarters in Chanhassen, Minnesota. Wow, did not expect that to be in America. Okay, so just to give a quick overview, let me bring up and see how fast this thing is. So this is LTH, guys, LTH, or lifetime group, it moves 2.9%, so a little bit on the slower side, what I like to consider the conservative side. But if you look at the EPS and the sales growth, you can see they are growing. They are slowly slowing down a little bit over here. You can see on the EPS growth slowly slowing down, and the sales growth as well. But you can see it is a consumer service, and it's doing very well. It had that famous cup with no handle here. We've been seeing that a lot. We've seen it with Root. We've seen it with LTH. We've seen it with HIMS. We've seen it a lot, guys. We've seen it a lot. The cup with no handle is working in this market right now. So keep that in mind when you got a cup forming. If you find that, the hardest thing about a cup with no handle is you're almost playing an extended game here. It's almost like, you know, you could buy here, but now you got to risk all the way down here. And that's not fun to risk double or triple what the average daily range is on a ticker like this. So when we're looking at this, these cup with no handles, they're a hard buy. They're a very hard buy. If you're going to try and play these cups with no handles, I would respectfully try to do it on much smaller share size, just because it's not giving you the best risk when you do that. So I like LTH. I like the EPS and sales growth. I like where it's at right now. But for a play, I would have to wait for this thing to base out. Maybe do something like this. You know, it bases out here. You know, it gets tight before breaking out higher, or even pulling back, you know, and forming a new trend break would be great. But right now, LTH doing absolutely awesome. If you played this cup without any handle or this trend breakout, then this would be a beautiful spot where you could just, you know, you've already waxed half of your shares or 3/4 of your shares, and you're just waiting for this thing to close below this 10-day moving average. You know, it's time, and you're making money, baby. You're making money, baby. You know what I mean? Let's go. Let's see. We got some Jeff Rosenberg in the business. What's up? Oh, that's Swolzenberg. That's Swolzenberg in the business, baby. What's up, Swolzenberg? It's good to see you. Swolzenberg says he's been in LTH for a month. Oh, that's your gym? Do you own that gym, or is that where you're getting swole at, brother? Dan Bob says OB. It's okay. Maybe did you? Oh, you wrote QB. Okay. I was gonna say maybe it's my old eyes, and I think it's QB and not OB. But we'll come back to OB. Let's see what else. Biggest national pickleball court. If you add all the courts in all the gyms, all the Chicago ones have a wait list. So this is LTH that he's talking about. That they have all these pickleball arenas, if you will, and they're the biggest ones. If you add the biggest national pickleball courts, if you add all the courts and all the gyms, all the Chicago ones have a wait list. Wow. Who would have thought pickleball would be so damn cool? I interviewed with them 2 weeks ago. That's awesome, man. That's awesome. We know our Swolzenberg, he is a pickleball coach. So if you're in the area, give him a shout for sure. Upper class gym, it's expensive. Let's take a look at Lifetime Group. We're going to look them up. Let's see how classy these guys are. So let's go to Lifetime Group. Okay. Oh, yeah. Let's see. Lifetime Group training. Rochester Hills. Okay, GTX, this is where it begins. You realize how good it does to feel moving your body and how fulfilling it is to make it happen. Where's the pickleball? Where's the pickleball? My life. Oh, we're going to get too deep into this. I just want to see some pickleball, damn it. Send me some pickleball pictures, Swolzenberg. Send them, baby. Pickleball is getting big. It definitely is getting big. It's definitely the fad right now. I don't know what it is with you guys in pickleball, but Swolzenberg's going to have to teach me. All right, so let's go over a few tickers I got, and you guys can throw whatever tickers you want up in the chat while I'm going through it. But I wanted to talk to you guys about Dave. Of course, the only reason why I took Dave was because it is my name, Dave. And so, you got to invest in yourself a little bit. But no, we played this basing breakout here. I played the retest on this. I'm very proud of this trade. I took my time with this. Again, with the alerts, I set an alert at the basing area. It alerted me. I wasn't in and it was too extended. So I reset an alert down here. And I ended up getting into this thing on the pullback, and I'm just holding on to it. Now this thing is broken out, and it's looking really good. It's got some EPS and sales growth. It's nothing major. It's just slowly on the incline. Nothing too crazy, but I like the chart. I like the simple base breakout, and I'm just holding on to it. We're going to see what happens. When I get to about 5R, 6R-ish, I'm going to remove half of my shares and then bring my stop up to break even, or most likely, now that the 10-day moving average is already beyond that, what I'll do is I'll wait until it closes on the daily time frame below my 10-day moving average. And I'll use that as my guide, right? Now earnings, it looks like it's coming on March 11th, so I have plenty of time to hold on to this. I have over a month to hold on to Dave. Sweet little Dave, so it can go up and make me plenty of money. We'll see what it wants to do. Yeah, Dan Bob says so it's kind of funny. So Dan played Dan and I played Dave. I'm actually surprised you got stopped out of Dan, to be honest with you, because it's well above its 10-day moving average. You probably used previous day and it was on this day here, if I remember right, which is totally acceptable. You want to get the best price you can with risk reward, but we always want to make sure that that's in line with something that is suitable, whether it's an area of support, whether it's a moving average that it's respected before. And so that's what makes it hard. That's what makes setting those stop losses hard. But I always got to commemorate anybody who is able to take and accept that stop and say, this is where I am wrong, because it's not about being wrong as long as you accept that you're wrong. What's worse is when people don't accept that they're wrong and they continue to be wrong. So it's good. I congratulate you on your stop out. This is still looking like it's setting up really well. This is more of a speculative stock here, but with an RS rating of 92, it's forming this high tight flag in this area, and it very well could continue to break out. So that's Dan. And I am Dave. Dave was lucky enough for it to pop out, but we're going to see what happens here. This thing could flush right back down tomorrow to my breakout area. Yeah, no, I figured you did, Dan Bob, especially if it didn't close below the 10-day. You had a nice tight stop. B Stu says AVGO. So this is what I mean by the broken charts, guys. Like, I got stopped out of AVGO, and I was happy to stop out of this thing because when this thing broke down here, to me, that's a broken chart. You can hold on for dear life, but this thing could have easily keeled over and continued lower. AVGO did bounce. It bounced very nicely, still holding the majority of its gains from its earnings. If you guys remember when earnings came out, it was a humongous beat. It was absolutely beautiful to see earnings come out for AVGO and this thing just rip up. And we waited for quite some time to be sure we got in at the right time. Now it's forming this base at the top. So I would say that this 240 area or this 238 area is very, very important for the stock. You can see it's been in this area multiple times here. You can see 1, 2, 5, 10, 2 weeks worth of time in this 240 area. I could definitely see this starting to roll over here and heading lower, or it breaks out from this 240 area and then continues to show that it is a leader in this market, as its EPS and sales growth is still very, very strong. And, I really should probably put this back on the leaders list. I have ARM on the leaders list. I know that you guys were looking at AMSC, I believe the ticker is as well. And B. Stewie has a really good point. He's got a really good point. Take a look at my screen, guys. I want you guys just to read right here what B. Stewie's got to say. I don't ask of much, guys. I really don't. smash that like button for me. I'm going to refresh this page. I know we got 11 of you watching. Let's make sure we got at least 11 likes. And we got 9 likes in here, guys. Do me a favor. Just hit that like button. I know you're probably listening. I'm in your pocket or you're watching me on your television. And it makes it a little bit harder for you to hit that like button. But just do it for me. It helps my algorithm. It helps get this out to you next time that you are watching and brings other viewers like you to me. So I would appreciate that. Thank you for helping me grow. And then, of course, there's the link tree. You guys want to be a part of this Discord, use that link tree. And then if you want, click on TradingView. Use TradingView. You're going to like this. We even give you a watch list every Friday. We do this watch list. This is pretty cool, guys. If you're part of our Discord, I just add your weekly watch list right here. And usually it's between 200 and 300 stocks. That way you can go through them and find those trend and base breakouts that we do all the time. Thank you, Derek. I appreciate your time, brother. Hell yeah, let's do it. And so I'm going to continue to go through these tickers and keep chatting and saying what needs to be said. And if you guys have something that you would like me to take a look at, throw it in the chat. Meow. We got about 10 minutes to go. You know, gold has been doing very, very well. I don't know when we're going to see the top for gold, but gold has been doing an absolute amazing job lately. And I've been following IAG. Right now, it's just basing out at the 633, 650 area. And if it actually gets out and above this, this would be the cup and handle, the normal cup and handle that I'm constantly looking for. So I would love to see this thing break out. So we're just going to keep an eye on IAG, which is that I Am Gold Corporation. This is ARM. So obviously, if you guys are into, you know, NVIDIA, you're into Broadcom, then you're going to want to keep ARM on your list because this thing looks very solid to me above all moving averages. And now you see this big expansion here. It's getting very tight. It's contracting once again. I think this thing can really take off. Now I'm maxed out. I am maxed out. I got my fingers in a little bit of everything. So I can't really afford to buy any more tickers, but I'm in APP right now. And we're just holding on to the last half of this. So this is an absolute monster winner. We took this right around that area. So we're up over 40% on that trade. We're in Dave. I just took MSTR. So guys, this is a little bit more of a speculative trade. Just because, you know, this is more based on, you know, a Bitcoin hedge or using Bitcoin as a treasury, which is a totally new thought. But what I liked about this when I seen this is just the risk reward. I can risk this right here. I'll just show you the best way to do it. I can risk this area, this low right here, for an exponential target, even if it is the highs here. Let me see if I can fix this. There we go. So I entered MicroStrategy somewhere in that area. We don't need to be exact here, but we would have an 11-to-1 risk reward ratio, or a 60.97%, where I plan on exiting half of this trade. So that's why I've decided to take this trade. It's a little bit more speculative. You can see the moving averages are all jonked up, but what I like is the new higher lows, and I can just mark these out for you. So here's the low. Here is the new higher low. And here is the third new higher low right here. So I have a very tight area to risk off of for a much more broad area to continue higher if this actually works out for this highly speculative stock. Now I'm using MSTR, or this is MSTR, a MicroStrategy, but MSTU is actually what I'm using. So if I can actually gain profitability on this, I'm going to gain it much, much quicker than using MSTR. So MSTU actually moves 13.1% in a day. It has that possibility to do. So keep that in mind. If you're looking for something fast, something more speculative, it's definitely something that you could try and play. I know a lot of you guys are out there, you know, you want to play those penny stocks. It's definitely something that you could play. You definitely could play. these penny stocks. Or you could play something that's showing new higher lows, something as speculative for this $9 range where you have tight risk. You know that you're wrong. I mean, it's a dollar risk, guys. You know, it's a dollar risk. You can risk $1 in MSTU, you know, for $20. Okay, that's all I'm saying here is it's proper risk reward, and it's something I like. Now I have a ton on here like IoT. IoT's ripping up through here. I think Dan Bob pointed this one out to me. You know, we have OKTA starting to set up, AVPT. We have so many stocks. And what I like to do is compile these all into an amazing watch list just for you. And that's what we're going to be doing tomorrow night. So make sure you're here for the live tomorrow night because I really would love everybody to be here. We're going to get the best of the best tickers out here and hopefully get some amazing setups ready to take off for you on Tuesday. Because remember, Monday the market is closed. So I will be here with you guys to help set everything up. I do want to give a shout out to Norm. He doesn't pop in here very much and show his face, but he is a huge donator on this show. I absolutely love you, brother. Thank you so much for donating and you know, making this worth my while. I mean, I'm just pumped to be here and have an awesome audience and community to be able to convey my thoughts and opinions about the market. But remember, you're a loser. You're a loser unless you're learning, and I'm here to learn every single day. I hope you guys are too. I hope to see you in the Discord, and I hope you guys have an awesome, awesome night. So we'll see you guys tomorrow. We'll see you guys tomorrow, baby. And let me give you some of that beef stew because I know you love it.
Oh, I see you over there. You got problems? We've got the beef.
All right, mic check. Okay, you guys can hear me this time. Erica K. You know, Erica, one thing I did not bring up is how amazing you're holding up my Netflix trade. So thank you for that, Erica K. Yeah, we'll see you tomorrow. We're going to do the Sunday meeting tomorrow because the market's not open, Erica. Jimmy Bright, I hope you have a good night. Thank you, thank you, thank you. B. Stewie, thank you for moderating. Dan Bob, you are quite welcome. Thank you for being a huge part of the show. Derek, thank you for liking. I hope you have subscribed, good sir. Rosenberg, or AKA the Swollen One. Thank you so much for being a part of this. And it looks like we're going to end this poll. 65% of you think the market will continue higher. Well, we are all in agreement on that one, I do believe. 18% of you said no. So I guess we're not all in agreement. Zamora, thank you so much for stopping by. Thank you, thank you, thank you for being such an amazing support to this channel. You know I love you, girl. Yosef, thank you for stopping by, brother, and thank you for being such a huge part of our Discord. Robert Tainch, I love the fact that you still stopping in here, saying hello. And we have Tom Holbrook. Thank you so much for stopping in and saying hi. I hope you guys have an awesome night. Hope you're having an awesome weekend. Hope everybody's safe, and I wish the best for you and your family. Thank you, guys. Have a good night. We'll see you tomorrow.